Good afternoon, Roscommon County, and welcome to our second segment of Cooking with Sheila. Today we are in our annex kitchen because we had a guest over at our Serenity Day Lodge, so we are in our fully equipped annex kitchen. So with that being said, take it away, Sheila.
Thank you. So last month, we went through and we did our pumpkin puree. You should have pulled this out. If you hadn't pulled this out, it's not too late. You can submerge it in warm water for about 10 minutes and kind of work the pumpkin around, and it will fully thaw for you to be able to do your pie. So to get started, we need our pumpkin puree. We need measuring spoons, measuring cups, a pie plate. I prefer to use glass. 2 eggs, a can of evaporated milk, salt, your spices, the sugars. I cheated with the pie crust and we went with a Pillsbury pie crust. I figured that would be really super easy to grab and put out. So we'll start with putting our pie crust on our pan so it has time to settle. These need to be room temperature.
What does the oven need to be preheated to?
Oven needs to be preheated to 400. So we'll just kind of unroll this and lay it over. I use the underside so that way it can kind of really settle, and push it down in kind of a little bit. So while that's settling, we will start making the filling. We're gonna open up the pie filling. And we're actually just gonna, as much as we can, just get out of the bag. It's not gonna be perfect. You don't have to worry about that. If you're missing a little bit, it's not gonna make a difference. Okay, so before I do anything, I add the spices into the pumpkin. That allows it to evenly distribute throughout the pumpkin puree, so you don't get those little pieces of, or clumps, would you say, of the spices in your pumpkin puree. So we have a half a cup of white sugar. I'm going to pour that in there. I pre-measured all of mine to be quick and more efficient. This is a half a cup of brown sugar.
Half
cup. And then going into the different spices that we have, I have a tablespoon of flour. That's for thickness and substance. This is a half a teaspoon of ginger, a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Now this is a 1/4 teaspoon of clove. Some people prefer clove, some people prefer not to have clove. It's a very strong spice, so no more than a 1/4 teaspoon. But if you don't like clove, you don't have to add it. We're going to add all those right in. Right into our mix. So we got all those in there. And it's going to kind of look like this for right now. We're just going to take our spoon and we're going to start mixing it together. It's going to take a little bit. You can use a hand mixer if you have one, or a KitchenAid. I opted for hand mixing today because some people, believe it or not, do not have those tools readily available. Just mix it in real good. You can kind of smash it down if you need to kind of mix it in. Once you get it all together and mixed in, we can move on to the next step. gonna be a little thick to start with. That's normal. A little hard to move around, a little chunky. The chunkiness is fine. So after we get the spices all mixed in there, this is what we look like. You know, kind of like a very thick type substance. Now we're gonna add in the eggs. Oh, look at me, I almost forgot. We need salt. 1 teaspoon of salt is required. Okay, we're mixed in there. So now we go on to our eggs. Two eggs. I'm just going to mix that in there until it's completely mixed through. You got to remember, this is not a commercial pie, so you're going to have the little lumps and the little extra pumpkin meat and stuff throughout it. Our can of evaporated milk goes in last. You have to make sure that you shake the can really well for the sediments at the bottom. Just open it up with your can opener. Just pour it in slowly and mix as you go. That way you don't have the sloshing of just the milk, because that will splatter everywhere. See? That went a little fast. Just the whole can, just keep mixing. You're gonna keep mixing until you get that brown color and it's all mixed in. You could use the whisk for this part. You're gonna get parts of the pumpkin on the whisk. That's fine. You're gonna notice that a homemade pumpkin pie has a little bit less of an orange color and more of a brown color. So we got everything pretty well mixed together. You can see the parts of pumpkin in mine. We'll set that to the side and we'll work on our pie crust. So with the pie crust, what we're going to do is you're going to push it down in and make sure that it gets into the corner.
How is there a corner on a round pie plate?
The corner edge being from this part to the bottom. And you want to make sure that it's pushed down in all the way through. I do push down the sides a little bit. But one thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go around your pie thing, your pie plate, and just get the extra off. Just keep going around. Okay, so this is our extra. I'm going to show you something cool you can do with the extra. But before we do that, you need to take the tines of your fork and press it into the pie crust. What it does is it allows some of the pumpkin to seep into the holes and actually helps hold it to the crust after baking. so you don't get that crust that separates. You do it all the way around the edges and all the way around the bottom, going around. They don't have to be necessarily right next to each other, just several different locations. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of stab it. Like so. Okay. So now that we got that done, there are two different ways, well, there's more than two, but two different ways that I generally do the outer edge of my pumpkin pie. You can use the tines of the fork and press down, or you can use your thumbs and press them down and together. My grandmother always did the thumbs down and press together, which kind of looks like that. Other things that I would suggest is the easiest way would be your fork, and you're just going to press it to kind of create that normal in the store crust top. You make them even because your last time, the last one is your first time with that set. Keep going around. And then I just kind of push them in from them being squished down. And then that gives you your crust with your edging. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually put our filling in our pie. So get our pie filled. You can see it's not perfect. It's not going to be, unless you really pureed that pumpkin really well. So we got full pie right there. Oven's on 400. We're going to put it in the oven. Going to have to be really careful because if you get any of that pumpkin onto your crust, it will burn. You also can put aluminum foil around the edge if you don't want to have a very dark crust. So we're going to go ahead and set this for 55 minutes. Generally 55 is enough. Sometimes you got to go an hour, but we're going to try 55. Okay, so now that's in for 55 minutes. What I was going to show you with your little piece of dough, you can actually flatten that out. And when you flatten that out, just a little festive tip, you can actually take a fork or a spoon and kind of make your own leaves. So shapes like this. And then what you would do is push it down. Use the tinier fork, put a line straight down, and then just some little lines going out to the side. And when you do this, you can put them on a cookie sheet. They take hardly no time whatsoever to cook. And you'll have little leaves to put in the center of your pie for Thanksgiving. They get added to the pie after the pie has cooled down. So probably just before serving, it's more of just a little decoration type thing. We did previously make a pie so that we could show you what you're creating. And I did do the little leaves on here. And we're gonna go ahead and cut into this and show you exactly how it's gonna look. So cutting into it, just kind of, you're gonna make an X right through the middle. Food is messy, remember that. Your pumpkin pie is going to come out perfect. So you just put a little bit of Ready Whip and or my family prefers the Cool Whip variety, and you eat it and enjoy. And I hope that you have a very happy Thanksgiving this year and enjoy serving your own homemade pie.